All right, we're live, and we are going to get the word out real quick here on this, so bear with me. Amy's going to entertain you while I find other folks.
Hey, guys.
So, what's today? Today is Desdymona's birthday.
Yes, it is. Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Des! We're going to start just tagging all of our friends that normally watch this. Right now, we're looking at the camera, but it's got the tag screen up, so, you know.
Oh.
Yeah. Rose, Waylon, Bill, Sarah, Alberto, the birthday girl, Joe, Robert Rogers, Nicholas, Tina, that's Christina Ashworth for those not in the know.
Aren't you in the know?
All right, and Mervin, Eddie, and I think that'll do it.
I think so.
All right.
And we're back.
And we're back. So we are in the 4th Gen Z28 trade-in. We thought that would be fitting since I don't know how to make that tag thing go away that's on us.
I don't either. I don't know if it shows in, like, the live video.
No, I'm sure it doesn't. It's just there to annoy us. But we're not supposed to be looking at us anyway. We're supposed to be looking at the camera.
Stop looking at yourself.
I know. So, we weren't planning on... oh, I got the sound on this turd on.
Yeah, we weren't planning on a live video.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell them.
But we had to kind of...
We had a computer die.
Yeah, we had a computer die, and getting the seasons produced and out in the episodes is a little bit more important.
Definitely.
So Christina has our main laptop right now, and she's finishing up one of the episodes. So we didn't want to miss our Q&A, so here we are on the cell phone in the car.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. And I'm sharing it across our platforms right now. That way, you know, or at least the Facebook platforms, I should say, so people can come jump in and say hi and those kind of things.
You know, it couldn't be a horror podcast without some difficulties going on.
Yeah, definitely.
We had to have some challenges. This season was just going too easy.
There's a ton of challenges. I think. Let me go make sure it's on the personal page. And then we'll get started with questions. Also, if you have questions in the interim, throw them down below, and
yeah,
we'll answer them.
If you're watching.
And if you're just tuning in on this like 8 hours later, you can still throw them on, and we'll put them in next week's video. iPad, Facebook sucks. I mean, Facebook sucks, period. But you know, it's kind of, you know, necessary evil, unfortunately. I'm sure this is on here. Cool, I am on here. All right, cool. Let's get started. So I'm going to open up this video where I can monitor the chat. I guess. No.
Don't know.
What's that got to do with anything right now, Facebook? Jeez.
Yeah, like our little 447 pillow we got back here.
That was also made by the great birthday girl Desdymona.
Yes, along with your shirt.
Yep.
That you have on right now.
That's right. Gotta love live, right? Okay, cool. And
it's entertaining, right?
Cool. All right, preamble's over, folks. Boom. Cool, the chat's working. All right, so our first question comes from who?
From Don Watkins.
Don Watkins.
Tell me more about this 1963 Grand Sport. Are there really only 5 made? And where can we really see them? Side note, I'm a vet owner myself.
Well, first of all, shout out to Rose watching us live.
Hi, Rose.
Rose, our ride or die. We're riding around in the car. I'm trying not to die. The battery's dead. Hence all the fake lighting. The 63 Grand Sports, Don, they are They are a very rare bird. Most of them, I think he says it in the story, but most of them are like blue and yellow looking and have like the big numbers on the side because they were pretty much used to race in like Le Mans and things like that. And I thought that would make it that much more creepy because like here's this super rare car, but this one's black and red. So yeah, they are a real thing. You can go see them. I think there's a few of them in the if not one of them in the Corvette Museum in Bowling Green, Kentucky. So you can go check that out. But yeah, I mean, you can Google the images of 63 Grand Sport. It's the first year of the car. It's a very cool looking, badass version of the second generation Corvette, the C2. All right.
Much knowledge you have.
There's a lot of car knowledge in this episode.
Our next question comes from Robert Rogers. What year was the Monte Carlo? I asked because my first ride was a 76 Monte Carlo with full vinyl roof and swivel bucket seats.
Nice. This one is an 84. It is a SS 84. I mean, I didn't go that too deep in the story, but when I was doing my research and looking up what car I wanted there to be like, I didn't want it just to be like some V6. I know that in I think the third generation Monte Carlo, there was like a diesel version and all this stuff. I just wanted it to be like an SS 2-door. It's kind of like the Buick Grand National, only the Chevy version of it. So it's got the really cool body colored front end with the little lip spoiler. So I just imagine this being like some car that Zeke and Zara's father really, really liked and would not have gotten rid of. But as he opened up his lawn service business and all that, like he says, no, it's like, okay, here's the keys to this. You're going to have to take this to work and back. Because they were really...
That's all we had.
Yeah, that's all they had. So that was like their family car. But you realize the back seat on that thing's massive. I think it has a front split bench seat. So those are, even though they're 2-door cars, they're very roomy inside. So yeah, I mean, it's an 84 Monte Carlo.
Well, there you
SS.
go.
But it sounds like you got a badass ride.
I know.
I have to share some pictures of it below.
Yeah, send some pictures. Okay. Don asked another question. It seems like this crowbar has some kind of supernatural power. Are we going to see it again in another story, maybe?
So fun fact about the crowbar. The crowbar is inspired by an actual crowbar I owned that was in this car. I used to always keep one on the side of me because I was always scared, like, if someone's going to try to rob me or attack me, that I'd have this crowbar, like, right here. And it's bright yellow because... If not, if I would have not had that crowbar, then the crowbar would have been red. Rotandans, red Grand Sport, red suits. You figured the crowbar would be red. But I made it yellow, inspired by the actual one. Plus, I knew when I was writing the story, which I'll go into a little bit more of the history of the story when we get towards the end of the video. But I knew that I wanted to be able to make artwork for the story. And I wanted the crowbar to, I don't own a red crowbar. And I found some online, but I couldn't find any at the local stores like Walmart or anything like that to go get a red crowbar. So I was like, you know what? I got a yellow one. Screw it. It's going to be a yellow crowbar. The crowbar, I think, is much like in the way of the car. I imagine it can exist probably in and out of Scary. And that's how it, he used it to beat Grover to death. And then... Oh, yeah, there's spoilers here. But this story's literally been out for like 2 years, so I didn't really throw a spoiler warning on it. It has no impending on the storyline whatsoever.
We've had the written story itself on the website for a long time. Right.
And by the way, if you're watching, you have any questions while you're watching this, I said at the top of the video, but you can drop them down below and we'll be answering them via our looking at ourselves or Inception.
I know, that's weird.
Because there's a delay, so it's not technically Inception. But anyway... Yeah, the crowbar is supernatural. I think that it has something to do with the power Damien has. So he's put that on the ramp.
Yeah.
And then later on when they're racing towards the end of the story, it's just right there, right when he's pulling ahead of that 63 and his modern engines blowing this antique car off the road. Lo and behold, there's the crowbar. It sends him flying through the Texas sky. So, yeah. Supernatural elements to the crowbar, for sure, though.
Brandon asks, who is Johnny's friend that he mentions having a Camaro?
So that's the real reason we're in here. I named the video like live from Zeke's trade-in because Zeke does have this car. But Matthew Finnis has the exact same vehicle.
Yes.
Now, we don't ever come out and I don't think say that. I think he might say he has a Camaro. I can't remember or not. But he leaves it at Stan's property in season 2. Is that season 2?
I think so.
Or season 3? I think Fake News is season 2.
I think so.
Yeah. No, yeah, it is. Because it's obviously before the season 2 finale. We won't go into that just in case you're watching this. No spoilers for the main story. But he leaves the Camaro there. And so I'm assuming he gets it back some way because Johnny didn't really know him at that time. But Johnny says in this story, I have a friend with a very similar car. So I imagine in like the parking garage of the Bella Vita is Matt's maroon Z28 Camaro sitting there. Where Zeke has a Cayenne red Z28. So they have like the same fucking car. And that's why Johnny's like, I have a friend with a similar car. But, and of course, factual on this car was originally Monterey Maroon, which is the color of Matt's. And we've mic'd up the back seat here. There's some videos on YouTube you can see where there's me doing donuts in this car to get sound effects for Matt's Camaro.
Yeah. So
all the
you hear him
Camaro
in the
sounds.
car,
Yeah.
Is this car.
It's this car that we used to make all the sound effects for that. Also, I painted this car in 2016 crystal red, which is very similar to the Cayenne red of that time frame. I didn't like Cayenne red in real life just because it's got a little bit of a copper hue to it, where crystal red is just like, you know me in red if you've followed the show. This car is red now. But yeah, we wanted to I wanted to kind of pay homage to both iterations of this vehicle with 2 separate stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, another one from Robert Rogers. What happened to the souls of those he killed?
They went to agony. So, Damien and Zeke are doing the same things. I mean, obviously Zeke took Damien's place. But Damien originally from the 1960s, I assume he probably was a avid Corvette guy, probably sold his soul for the first Grand Sport. I imagine something similar happened to him. You know, oh, we can get you that car that only 5 exist of.
Yeah.
And he's been roaming these highways because Johnny came for him.
Yes.
He's like, I was wondering where this modern Corvette came from because the one I've been hunting is this 63. And I knew I'd be able to find it now because, slight spoiler, we did an event that made you guys more mortal. You know, so I guess they've been trying to hunt it down, but they couldn't find Damien. But instead they've been hearing rumors of this 2017 Grand Sport doing like the same thing. So yeah, they you got to realize, and it's really creepy. It's not like they just run people off the road and kill them, because if they run some dude off the road and he dies and he was like a saint and was good and a patron to his church and all these kind of things, he's going right back through the life engine. So that doesn't do anything for agony. So I think that these devils like don't cause intentional traffic fatalities like Sirenicide as much as they're there at opportune times to meet people at rest stops, gas stations, dealerships late at night, and to tempt people into dying and taking their, and that, I think that's what normally, I guarantee you, if Damien would have caught Zeke like in some busted up Toyota Corolla, he would have just like, has your desire always been to be with that girl at the coffee shop? Well, let me set that up for you. You know, basically selling your soul to the devil for something you want. Or have you always wanted to be a millionaire? Because, I mean, obviously there was a catch to this whole story we learned. And I think the Rotandans do the same thing to other people. That way, if you make a deal and then you die, you're not going to scary because you're not being tortured to death. But you've also sold your soul and your life to agony. So I think that that's what the Rotandans do here, is they're trying as much as they can to do what they do best, destroy. They're pure destruction.
And they just want to take what
is precious
was
to people.
precious to people, because
Like the Monte Carlo.
The Monte Carlo, that's what I was about to get.
Right.
Like, there was no reason to really go after Zara other than
Yeah,
the
like
car
you said.
itself.
It's like, so if Zeke's mom would have been in that at the time, she would have caught the pivot. If Zeke's dad would have been going to the store,
because it was
she would
the
have got the
whole
call.
family
Yeah, exactly.
in love with this car.
Right. So, yeah.
Brandon asks, can people killed by the Rotandans be brought back as demons before the soul lock, that is?
If you're killed by a Rotandan, I think you're depending on how the Rotandan kills you, you're still subject to where you're going to go. Like we had Harper's family, for instance, was involved with the Rotandans in our storyline, but the way they went out was very gruesome and painful and a lot of sorrow. So I don't think they've shifted right over to agony. At least his son didn't. I mean, I think mom and dad went straight to. I mean, mom and sister were dragged to hell, if you will, by the Rotandans, and then we all know that Harper's son.
Yeah. Well, we also have in one of our other standalones, Shutter Love. Mm-hmm. What the girls and they still have them there as traps to get other people and stuff like that. So I think it just depends on what they're trying to do and how they're trying to get more souls for. Yeah,
and we have an episode coming up pretty soon that really will solidify the relationship between the Realm of the Dead, Scary, and Agony Hell, like how they get along and how they work together, because they are two separate places. But the way that they came to be and how they were built. So keep your ears peeled for that one. It's coming. But as far as demons in our world have never really been discovered per se or been in our storyline. They're not like your normal demons, like the spirits inside of me making me do evil things like demons are characterized in our book.
Yeah.
Our world. But in this world, demons do exist. We've never touched on them. I don't think we ever are going to touch on them in Sirenicide, but in the Midland book series that Sirenicide's part of, the RPG we got launching next year, all of that, you'll find out like what demons are in this world, and they are a physical race that is very menaced. They make the devils look like, hey guys, I just want to give you a Corvette. Let me push you off the cliff, inadvertently instead of like ripping your arms off and then kicking you off the cliff. Yeah, demons are coming to a story near you.
To a story 2020. Near you. And our final question.
All right.
Comes from Alberto de Jesus. What inspired you to get this episode together? It has a nostalgia feel to the Season 1 Sirenicide when the ambulance causes havoc and the roads were patrolled by the wicked. It was just awesome. We need more of this road horror. And then he put hashtag Twisted Metal Addict.
Nice. Twisted Metal was a fun game. Sweet Tooth. Hail to the Chief. All sorts of...
No clue what you're just talking about.
But anyway, the story I wrote for No Sleep, actually. I wrote the story for the No Sleep podcast. It was submitted to the No Sleep podcast, but it was never made into an audio drama. And then during Creepy's The Bad Days, I hadn't had it made by No Sleep, so... I lent it to John, but as you can tell, it's a 10,000 word story. It's very, very intense. It's just not one that was easily able to be made. So I reached back out to him and said, hey, I'm thinking about putting it into season 4. And so we brought it back home. So if you go to Reddit, like No Sleep Reddit, the story's on there. You just search for Johnny Stitches, and it was written by me, and it's on there. It's a lot different. The story's the same, but there's no Johnny Stitches in it. There's no Solok. There's no dying Rotandan at the beginning. All that stuff was added so it would fit into the story. So as far as inspiration, I know a lot of people, when they listen to it, they get a Christine vibe. Full disclosure, I've only seen Christine once, and I was like 7 or 8, and it was like on like TBS or TNT or something. So it was highly like TV edited. Mm-hmm. I know it's about a haunted car, but I've never read the book. So I'm not trying to take away from that. I mean, I've had people read that No Sleep story and say, yeah, it's very similar to Christine. So it makes me want to sit down and go back and see it now that it's out in the wild. I didn't want to watch it again after I read those comments because I knew I was still going to adapt and write into it, and I didn't want it to reflect off that. But more than anything, this story is inspired by the liquid from season 1 and the Rotandans, and how the Rotandans have basically used this liquid that goes wrong and infuse their vehicles with it. So we learned early in the season, Vima asked Theobald, can this liquid synthesization process go wrong? He's like, oh yeah. An inexperienced hydromancer could really screw things up. And I think that's where this liquid has come from. That's in the headliner of the, soaked into the headliner of the Grand Sport. Now, when it blows up at the end, it's all burned away. And that's why Zeke tells Johnny, hey, when you take this, the liquid burned up in the fire. So the car can shift in and out of Scary, and you're free of any, evil presence within it that's going to be talking to you. Which I think Johnny's powerful enough to just pull that liquid out of the headliner anyway and then dispel it because he's a hydromancer.
Yeah.
What was that the question? What was it?
What inspired it?
Yeah, so that was inspired by those. But yeah, I mean, it's very reminiscent of like the original Sirenicide of him sporting the highways, tempting people into racing. I'm sure he's pulled over in this hot red Corvette and like picked up a few hitchhikers, and like some young, kid or something like that, and offering them the world. How do I get a car like this? Funny you say that,
I like imagine it like it's almost like a job, like he has to meet like a certain quota.
Well, it's funny you say that because in the original story at the very end, instead of him being killed by Johnny, he's sitting in the car and he gets a text message from this number, basically the Rotanan saying, hey, there is a Cobra Mustang.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, time to go to work kind of thing. And he puts his car into gear and, and he's going to go out and challenge this dude to a race and, kill him.
And just to say it, Jesse Cornett did an amazing job as Zeke. It was a lot and he did phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean, we worked with Jesse once before on a mini episode called The Silent One.
Which he was phenomenal in that one, too.
And he's literally the only voice in that whole episode.
Yeah.
Because the Silent One, the other character in the audio drama, has no dialogue. So he did such a good... What are you doing with that? So I always wanted him to come back. I just didn't know how to, like... Because he's got such a distinct, like, frantic voice from the No Sleep stories I've heard him in. And as soon as we decided to go ahead and adapt this story for season 4, I was like, I got to get Jesse Cornett in this. And luckily, even with his busy schedule, because he's a producer for No Sleep now, he puts episodes and all that together, he was still able to make time to do this 10,000 word freaking story.
Which he's over half of it.
Yeah, well over half the dialogue is his.
And he did a really good job from going from the flashbacks to like present to talking to Johnny. So
I also want to do another shout out to some other people in the episode. Stars of like freaking Brandon Greer as Grover.
Yes.
What is this car, Zeke? It is such a good job.
Good job, Brandon.
It really was a amazing story. I think a lot of people won't realize like how much work, like all those Corvette sounds were originally made by a 2017 Grand Sport. So I'd been working for a while on the idea. I basically, if No Sleep or Creepy or somebody like that was going to adapt the story, I wanted to be able to have some effects for them for it. So I've been sitting on a lot of this for a while. But I got to give it up also to Nicholas, who did the voice of Damien. And Nicholas has done a lot of work for us. But, he walked up singing that Prince song at the end.
I know, he did so good.
It's just like, I guess you should have known by the way I parked the car sideways that it wouldn't last, Zeke. So good. I told him, I was like, I want you to be Negan, like from The Walking Dead, like Jeffrey D. Morgan's version of like, look at that, taking it like a champ. And I got that kind of idea for Damien, but at the same time, him to be like a lighthearted, whimsical kind of like, oh, come on, buddy, And he just nailed it. He did. Fucking nailed that character. Dayjan as the Grand Sport. Oh man, that was faster Zeke. It's just a really hard role to play. It's basically a chaos-filled liquid car. So, just an all-star cast, man. Freaking, it was really, really good. Brandon, I can't give enough props to. Jesse Cornett was just phenomenal in it. It's just such a good voice actor. If you ever want some entertainment, just find any No Sleep story that Jesse's in.
Anything he's ever done.
And it's just, he's fucking perfect, man. He's an amazing voice actor. So, but yeah. Well, I think that's all the time we have today. Coming at you live. Again, happy birthday, Des.
Happy
Des's
birthday, Des.
Artwork. Woo! Des did that guy back there too, so She's just a phenomenal artist, and we're so happy to have her. You know, I want to check something real quick. I want to make sure that I didn't wig on the question. So sometimes this locks up. Like people are like, how come they're not answering our questions? Let me refresh this real quick.
Oh yeah, it kind of does sometimes.
Just to make sure. I think we're good. Cool. All right. Always get nervous about that. Oh wait, no. There goes all the Rose's stuff loading. See, it didn't load up there, but it's loading
No,
here.
not at all.
All right, Rose. I'm sorry. We saw. I always thought it should have been picked up by No Sleep. You know, hindsight being 2020, I'm glad it wasn't now.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it fits in so good with the Rotandan arc. Like originally, you know, he's got a sweaty red suit. And the bank's called First Rotandan and Trust, and that was just my way of putting little hints out to the Sirenicide universe without being on the nose. If you notice, he says the Bayou City. He never says Morston.
Yeah.
Or any of that stuff, because I didn't want to do that. That's kind of an ass move, I feel like, to like use your lore that much into somebody else's show, or work. But yeah, man, that's
I also think it has, like, you're such a car guy. Working at the dealership, I mean, we've both sold cars and that kind of stuff, and a lot of the lingo that was used in there and that kind of stuff, I just don't know if it going out of house or someone else producing it would have been able to capture that as well, like the actual reality of what that industry and that business is like, and the Carfax. And
I mean, there was a ton of like Zeke's day-to-day knowledge of the car business and those kind of things, like him saying, you know, most people see some dude coming with a toothpick in his mouth over, you know, looking at something they can't
kicking
afford.
Tires.
Exactly. And, you know, I mean, I don't sell cars anymore, but I did for years, and that'd be like, you're like, oh, 30 minutes till I get to go home, and then somebody walks up and they're like, how much for that truck over there?
What was the line? Something like sweeping them off, or
brooming
him.
Yeah, most of them brooming them off. So brooming is a term in the car business. It's like your manager comes out and goes, "Does he really want to buy that car? Or is he just looking around?" No, he's saying he's going to buy for like 3 months. Then broom him.
Yeah.
Broom him off the porch.
We want to go home.
But yeah, man, it was the car dealership that Zeke works for is based off of one in the 90s. I don't know if they still own it, but Walmart a long time ago actually tried their hand at the car business, like these little pre-owned car centers, and they weren't called Walmart. I can't remember what the name of them was, but my parents went to one when I was 8 or 9 and looked at a car, and they were very proud to say that they were affiliated with Walmart. So I wanted to take that, so I made this Wall Vaults store. Like the Wall Vaults owns the supermarket stores own this car chain. But all right. Cool. I think it's knocking out about 30 minutes. That's pretty good. So. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening to. This is the last standalone story.
Yes.
For season 4. Yeah, or forever. Actually, we've got a whole podcast coming in the next year with nothing but standalone stories. Yeah. So 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 will all be story driven.
And 16.
The end of and 16. Sorry, I'm tired. Let me see here.
No, the season finale is not going to have anything to do with the actual season.
Yeah, exactly. Not at all. I think we're good. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us live here. And if you're doing the rewatch, again, put a comment down if you got any questions or something like that. It'll alert us. And if it's a question related to this episode, we'll answer it below. If it's just a podcast question in general, like about how we produce the show, how we get voice actors for the show, any of that kind of stuff, how it's produced, all those questions, always feel free to ask those. Mm-hmm. And we'll either answer them below or we will move them on to a next Q&A video. All right, guys. Enjoy your Sunday.